Hello everyone, and thank you for taking some time to watch this video whenever it's convenient for you. In light of the last weeks and months and recognizing where we are in the remote learning status, I wanted to explain some things to you. Some of these things will be repeats for people with whom I've had these conversations during conferences, but I realized I didn't say all of these pieces to everyone, and some ideas I didn't say to anyone. And I thought rather than write it all into a very lengthy email, which would take me a lot of time and time for you to read, I thought this might be an easier route for me and then perhaps you to collect this information. And certainly view this any way you want to. There's no visuals other than me, my great stained glass background, and a sheet here that lets you know where I am in the conversation. So this can be a background thing while you're doing other tasks at home, or maybe I will lull you into a nap. Yeah, that's the essential plan. And to make it easier for you watching and listening, I'll have the topic here on this display. So if you're moving around the house and you come back and realize what's he talking about now, you don't have to try to check in. You can just see by the sheet of what the topic is. And if you're watching this more than once. Okay, so that's the layout for this. This may take more than one video, so I just set a timer to be about 20 minutes so I can be aware of that and then lob it off and then start a new one for the ease of YouTube viewing. Okay, so number one, the first piece I wanted to talk a little bit about and have spoken about before are the papers that I have sent home. I realize they have been occasionally, or more often than that, a source of kind of kerfluffle as you're looking for them and not certain what the story is. I've tried to preview them by mentioning them in the daily emails or previewing them at the beginning of the lesson, and I am working on repairing that process for you. Thinking of a couple of things is to number them, even if the number that I use them is not in the order, but at least you could find page number 2, because there'll be a 2 at the top, rather than trying to see the image on the screen, perhaps. As I have explained, planning day, week in advance, 2 weeks in advance is not problematic, or it's within my skill set, but planning weeks in advance is effortful. Achievable, but effortful because of the response of 5- and 6-year-olds. When I planned for college classes, it was very clear what we were going to accomplish, and I could have that laid out. But watching 5- and 6-year-olds, there's just a format that has to be flexible. If we were in class, I'd have everything lined up on my front shelves, and I'd be responsive to the moment and think, okay, we can do this today, so I'll take this out. I'm going to put that back because time is not allowing us to effectively instruct that lesson content. But this is much more cumbersome, getting things to you a week to 2 in advance, and then distribution days, and sending forms to the office to print to be ready on Monday. We can only give you forms that print on Monday so that the lessons actually go Tuesday through Friday, or Tuesday through Monday. There's just a lot of encumbrances with that. I'm hoping to fix that for you and make it more reasonable. And to be completely honest, the reason why it was also a little bit over the top and at times overstocked was because of my life circumstances. As the school year began, I knew with conversations and with conversations with my sister and contact with home and videos and stuff, that I knew that my mom's death was imminent, and we both presumed it was going to happen this fall. Because I wanted to be very clear about my layout and plans and how our team works and operates and individual skill sets and preferences, I just chose to plan September to December essentially for the entire grade level team. That way I could plan 3 months in advance, September, October, November, 4 months in advance, know what was happening each week, have everything stacked, went through email, e-files, and hard copies. This is just to give you context on where that paperwork stack came from, so that I could know what was ahead, everything from the word order to the letters to the afternoon tasks. So when the time did come, I could walk away kind of cleanly and turn over to guest teacher, who we fortunately had Mrs. Carls for, as well as Mr. Silverman on the days he was attending, and attend to life events at home. And that's exactly what happened. We made plans on Thursday night. Friday morning she died. Friday afternoon we were in a plane, and Sunday was the service. And then we returned 1 week early because of the COVID distress between New York, New Jersey, and Washington, and the national impending shutdown. So everything was out of whack. So there was a lot of passing these papers and believing they could or could not be used during that time. I didn't share anything with my team either, so they just saw a lot of stuff. And I didn't say anything to you folks. But now you have a sense, at least the context of why and where there seemed to be things that were in piles and I never got to. The intention is to get to all of them, but with the changes I'm going to kind of do a reset. So thank you for your patience with that. And then again, just to give you an understanding of how and why it was operating that way. I did the best I could with a 4-month plan and keeping all of that information to myself. But I think I have a way of moving forward. Thank you again. The plan as I see it for coming up now, returning to the classroom on Monday, November 30th, and then having 3 full weeks before December. My wish is the copies sent to you via me through email, along with the copies that are provided by the office. We're going to take a little bit of adjustment. My expectation is beginning Monday the 30th, I'll have the blue bin back out with some things that are specific to us. For example, in the email coming out later today, this is Friday the 20th of November, I'm going to send you a new tool, the December calendar, which the students will then color code. We did do that in a typical year, and I'm realizing that's a facet that's missing from our classroom. So we will use that on Monday. It will be in the email for those who print at home, and then it will be in the separate bin on Monday the 30th. Please come to get the traditional afternoon tasks copies on Monday, and then stop by, and this is in an email as well, stop by the blue bin to get the tools that we will need. I'm going to just continue general plans, excuse me, on the week of the 30th, and then make some small plans after that. So be sure to get the few things that will be in the separate 103 bin for that first week back. I think that will help us return to a reset. In an email going out, a lengthy email, I have the things to also have ready that you have copies for, that were given out about 3 weeks ago, just before I left. And many of those things are ready to come back. I wasn't certain the use of them in my absence, but they are tools. There's a spelling list and the rhyme book, etc. So please have those available for students to use on Monday the 30th. I think that closes the papers section. There is a survey going out in the email today asking for your feedback about a number of pieces and elements of the program right now. PM Tasks is one of those places. Those are the sheets that you do get from me on Fridays or the weekend, and then there are pickup on Mondays. In the survey, what I'd like to know is, are those tools useful for you, and should I continue into the new year? They're programmed and planned out until the 18th of December. But then after that, I'd like to hear from you whether they are useful. Context, when we were given our schedules for the beginning of the school year, it was pretty clear that we were expected to provide a full day's worth of instruction. I objected to the idea that 5- and 6-year-olds would be expected to be on the computer, and helped create the idea of afternoon tasks. And those are the 3 to 5 or 6 sheets or jobs that students would do after the live school day closed. I had them laid out. They are kindergarten skill focused. not all of them tied to the day's work. There were letters that were tied to the day's work, which I pre-planned, and then other fun things like find the differences, or count your steps and do inventory. They are still skills. They're not busy work, but they are skills that we would cultivate and groom and support in class, along with a couple of fun sheets. The question now is, are they useful? I believed at that point that I lobbied for the 2-hour block that we had the first 4 weeks or so, watching kids' ability, stamina, duration, attention, and we were in 8:30 to 10:30. There came a point when we added on the extra hour. I did added on an extra hour, not everyone did. But the idea was then, in the afternoon, students needed to be doing things, and that's where the PM tasks came through, with the hopes that I could provide a service that, if you need to take care of a younger sibling, or get dinner started, or kids just needed to be doing something while you were working, they had some tasks to do. I've tried to preview them during the day or embed them into the day's instruction for things that would be aligned, like the letter or math numeral comparisons. Then as we began to roll out more of the year, things like the Bryant specials and the specialists began to come in, which added more time to the afternoon. Small groups coming, that adds more time to the afternoon. And so my thinking is, are the PM tasks useful to continue for me and or K team to continue to program in our day's planning for you, or if they're not useful? If you could let me know that in the survey. If it's mixed, we'll continue doing that. Whether you do them or not is up to you. We haven't checked them back in class, just for sanity's sake, at this point. That may be the case as our content continues to increase in the new year, in January. It may be more directly aligned, or not. But I'd like to hear from you about that. The students' commitment to them can be varied, and that's the part I want to be sure that you understand, that they shouldn't be a point of contention. They are designed to be extensions to the day, and hopefully some opportunities for you to accomplish other things, but not a place of contention between you and your child. If that's the case, then pitch and ditch them. But I welcome your feedback about those. Thank you. Okay. The engagement piece, I just have to hugely compliment your kids on their engagement. That has been delightfully, but not surprisingly, reinforced by Mrs. Carls on how our students perform. A sideline about her experience with us. She's a very requested guest teacher at Bryant. I'm always happy to introduce my class to her. She loves how I operate as a former kindergarten teacher, and she knows the effort it takes to bring kids to the level at which she experiences them in room 103. Your kids are going to see her in multiple years ahead. Many teachers at school have her as their first request when we need a guest teacher for whatever purpose that we're not able to attend school. So she will be a 103 pal ongoing as those 103 students move forward. She has explicitly complimented the students on their tech ability, their engagement, their politeness, their self-management, their materials, property management. So kudos to them, and that comes from certainly Mr. Silverman, myself, and from Mrs. Cross. And I agree. Walking up to this year has been a cognitive and emotional dilemma-filled experience, because this is not what any of us wanted. It's not how I want to close my career, but it is what it is, and we're doing the best we can. The idea of working with kids who are 5 and 6 online, who are coming from an entire range of skill with tech and screen use, was exciting, daunting, invigorating, and open to interpretation. But when I look at what the kids are doing, I'm just thrilled, and I know that if anyone were to see this, they would be equally impressed with the fact that they show up on time. Their acquisition of the skills, the tech skills to be successful, mic on and off. When I think back in the original days of mic on and off, that alone is worthy of a stand-up comedy routine. and then camera on and off, and then the, real hands and tech hands, coming into pinning, as well as just figuring out all the pieces, the in and out, the exit when things don't work. I can't see you. The teacher, where's my black marker? Those are kind of things that are just, everyone teaches grade levels for a reason, but that's why I love K, because I spent 35 plus years teaching kindergarten kids, because every minute is fantabulous, as I describe it. Teaching kindergarten is like living in a sitcom, not watching a sitcom, living in it, because everything's just unpredictable and hysterical. And so their engagement has been terrific. Considering what we're asking 5- and 6-year-olds to do is to pay attention to someone on flat school, I'm now calling it, who they think they know, and they know as best they can, along with a bunch of people who should be sitting next to them, but are simply little pictures on a flat device. But as I have said, I'm thrilled that they're buying what I'm seeking to sell, which is a valuable school experience full of integrity and purpose and intention. And they seem to be along solidly for the ride. Thank you for supporting them in all the ways that you do. When I pull back and kind of metacognitively think about what I'm thinking and realize what I'm doing and who I'm doing it with, that means it's almost time for me to finish this topic. I'm genuinely struck. I can't say enough to the people in my life beyond the classroom how impressed I am and how truly, deeply I love these kids for their rising to the occasion and their commitment to making this be kindergarten. It's their only kindergarten experience, and that causes me heartbreak. But I want them to at least be able to think that they had a good kindergarten year when this year finishes. Or as I think about it in 20, 25 years when they're 25 or 30 and are sitting around with friends, and where were you during the pandemic? Where were you during the pandemic? That they will be able to sit comfortably with those friends and family and people they love and be able to say that they had a good kindergarten experience and they did their best possible, and their teacher did his best possible to rise to the occasion that this would be a memorable year in as many ways as possible. And that is something that gives me comfort in the times when I feel distressed that the pandemic is robbing my kids of a full experience, and it is. They're not getting the 105% that I am in person, but they're getting a really good approximation of the live 103 version with Mr. Gallagher. And so I thank you for your continued support and patience and acknowledgement of what your kid is doing every single day when they're both a student with me and when they're a 5- and 6-year-old sitting in front of a device and they're just your kid. I'm conscious of both of those beings who are with me in remote school, just as in person. There are days when I look out at my students and realize I have this great group of students, and I treat them like students who've had 5 to 6 years of life, and that needs to be respected in how I speak to them. It's never down, it's always up and elevating in content and vocabulary. And then something funny or strange or developmental will happen, and I'll just think, yeah. And there's somebody else's kid who's 5 and is doing that because that's what 5- and 6-year-olds do. And that's where the joy and pleasure of kindergarten comes from. I'm going to stop here and then start a second video to make it easy to upload onto YouTube. Excuse me.